What is going on, everybody? I think we are live. We'll give it here a second to make sure it all catches up. But welcome, one and all, to the April 2026 Live Hangout for the Movie Club Emporium. And this month, man, this is kind of becoming low key one of our favorite things to do. And I think you were talking back in the green room about because I think we took 2 years off. We didn't do one last year. It was the year before
We
last.
did not do it last year.
I think we're gonna
Yeah.
do this once a year as we get through our through the actual franchise. We're talking about Mad Max knockoffs. Now, those of you who are in the know the Mad Max franchise. Mel Gibson, Tom Hardy, um, Charlize Theron, and how much fun it is to basically live like we're living now, where gas is so almost like cataclysmically expensive, and we're just all a leather jacket and a cod piece away from living in the wasteland, or at least it is the way it is down here. Plus, it's hot enough. So, but with that, how's everybody doing? Very good, very good. Thank you. I'm glad we've made it. Let's see here, 2 minutes, and we got a pretty good fart joke. I'm here for it. Uh, Thank you guys for joining us for this month's hangout. We do these every single month. So if you want to join us live, make sure you are subscribed. And if you say to yourself, that's not enough, I need more. Good news, because we do videos every single week, every Sunday. We have new reviews that go up. Last week we talked about the surprisingly decent body cam found footage movie, aptly named Body Cam, which actually did pretty good numbers for us. So that's exciting. Thank you guys for watching that. It was all around a surprising experience to watch a Shudder original found footage body cam movie. And then, of course, when that's going on, we also have Nick has the hottest and freshest takes. Like the credits are barely rolling, and Nick's already telling you how he feels about movies straight out of the theater on post theater clarity. So you want to make sure you are here and subscribe for all of those. And it's gonna be yeah, we're aiming to get to, we're at 68, so we actually gained a few followers. So our goal is 100, to get 100 this year on YouTube, but I gotta be honest with you, I'll settle for just one more. Let's hit 69.
Nice. Nice.
And but now help us out with that, please, if you would. Make sure we're liking and sharing, doing all the things to appease the YouTube elder gods, and come have fun with us because it's a good time. And like I said, tonight we're talking about Mad Max knockoffs, but we feel like it's only fair that in talking about all of these kind of cookie cutter, you know, Timu-esque films, we start off with a piece of prime rib. That is, so we'll be talking about The Road Warrior, aka Mad Max 2, depending on where you are in the world. But before we get into all of that goodness, how are you doing, sir?
Doing all right. It has been a busy month since I've seen you all. I've missed last week at Post Theater Clarity because life has been a wild ride as of late. Folks came in from Oklahoma to visit, and trips to Seattle, and family illnesses, and it's been a wild ride. But this watching the movies for this episode has been a nice departure. There's some good stuff out of the theater and coming out to the theater that I just can't wait to see. Uh, and I'll have some fresh reviews for Post Theater Clarity. I'm planning to have one this week. What am I going to go see? I have no idea. I'll figure that out. I'm going to go to see something. But no, life's good. Just busy. And this weird guy at work keeps on staring at me strangely. He sits in front of me and just keeps on peeking over his shoulder at me, and it's kind of disconcerting. So I got that going on. I think he's actually following me to this live stream too, so that's a little on the weird side. But what can I say?
Well,
He's obsessed with me.
I
Other than
mean,
that,
you know you've made it big when you've got stalkers.
yeah. Well, if stalkers is the mark of making it big, I've been making it big for a very long time. As Jason, I'm sure you remember, I've had a few in my time.
We were big. You were big before big was cool.
Yep. So going back to 20 some odd years ago. Anyways, that is. I have to have a Hobernickel story time episode to regale some stories at some point, which would be a blast. But for now, we'll just review movies. How are you doing, Jason?
I'm good. I say we should do that, but I also say that is a maybe when we hit 100 subscribers, we do a special one-off live stream. So, if you want to hear about, really what the oh, what's it called? I had the phrase in my head to make it funny, and it just left me. Um, like however long a crime can be punishable. You'll have to wait to real stories until we get to 100. Yeah,
Statute of limitations.
There it is, statute. If you want, depending on the statute of eliminate, what that is, then
Hey.
see, it's you understand how flustering it's going to be. You're going to want to be there, so help us get those numbers up. No, good. Same with you, work and last night, like I was saying, my TV crapped out, so of course, Walmart's not a 24-hour store anymore, so had to work a little frontier medicine in order to get a TV bright and early this morning to continue catching up with our films for tonight. But we're up and running, and excited to talk about again what a surprisingly fun and I won't say no misses. There are several misses, but even in the misses, you can find something to take out of it. Subgenre of films and the studios and filmmakers who blatantly ripped off one of the best action franchises in history.
It's I mean, you would talk about a genre that's a staple of our youth. These movies were all over the video stores. They were all over things like USA Network, or some of them would show up on like at TNT's Joe Bob Briggs, because one review, 2020 Texas Gladiators, did make an appearance on Joe Bob Briggs. Uh, they varied, as we were discussing, varied widely in quality from the worst things somebody ever filmed in their backyard using a VHS camcorder to all-time classic movies. This genre just goes far and wide, and we have a mix tonight. We got 5 movies. The Road Warrior, which honestly, we say things are Mad Max rips-offs. I think more movies try to emulate the Road Warrior than actually Mad Max. Mad Max just kind of kicked it off. But you could see the fingerprints of the Road Warrior all over a lot of these movies and more. It was fun getting to watch them, the Road Warrior, which is a masterpiece, back to back with 4 other really different movies. So, very different, as you will find out. So, you want to get this thing going?
Yeah, we're gonna start with Grant. We're start with Patient Zero. The Road Warrior 1981. This was the follow up to the wildly successful world phenomenon when it came out. Mad Max from 1979. And this is the one, like you're saying, this is the one that, well, we say Mad Max knockoffs. This is the film. This is where all these movies going forward come from. Written and directed by George Miller, the man who's run this franchise. Uh, Starring Sugar Tits himself, Mel Gibson. You also get Bruce Spence as one of my favorite characters, and not only this franchise, but in all these films, the Gyro Captain. And Vernon Wells, who plays Wes, who is an actor who has come to find out taken on many an action hero, whether he's facing off against Mel Gibson in this film or he's fighting Arnold Schwarzenegger wearing what looks like crocheted chainmail in Commando. He's everywhere, including the movie. Spoilers. He's in the movie that I'll be talking about on Sunday for tomorrow's review. But right now we're in 1981. This is again the follow up. We are full blown post apocalyptic. The most important thing in the wastelands of Australia is gasoline. And we are with Max as he is traversing, dealing with the fact that where we left him off at the end of Mad Max, he basically has sworn off uh, any kind of human emotions uh, and kind of accidentally stumbles into being the one thing that uh, he reluctantly has to do over and over again, and that is be a hero. For helping protect a group of people who are dressed like the goons of Arnold Schwarzenegger in Batman and Robin. Protect a oil rig refinery from one of the coolest and goofiest bunch of BDSM fanatics you've ever seen in your entire life.
Yes, very progressive, you could say, wasteland gang with a lot of cool hairdos and assless chaps and same-sex relationships. They were very ahead of their time. Uh, they're quite a flamboyant bunch. But still seem extremely dangerous, which is terrifying. That's the thing. It's like the villains in a lot of these types of movies. Some of them, it's just like in one movie in particular, we'll talk about later, couldn't seem like less of a threat. But the Lord Humongous Gang is a genuinely terrifying bunch of dudes with all manner of crazy, souped up rides. And Lord Humongous himself, this irradiated, muscle bound dude with a hockey mask and a kind of a terrifying voice. Um, all right, I interrupted you. Did you want to say any more about the plot?
Oh no, I was just going no, just and like he's a reluctant hero, and but going off of Lord Humongous, I only hope that someday, even if it isn't until the day of my funeral memorial service, I just want one time somebody when announcing me to a room to refer to me as the Ayatollah of rock and rolla.
That's it's just like that iconic scene where his kind of like his hype man is introducing him. It's just fantastic. This is not a movie that's like got the most complicated plot. We have these people who are trying to eke out an existence in the wasteland and escape, and they're in possession of something this badass post-apocalyptic wasteland gang wants. And their best bet is Max, who really just kind of wants to wander alone after, in his souped-up interceptor with his healer dog, and just be left alone. But he's kind of drug into this uh, conflict, and he's the hero they need, the reluctant hero. I would say, watching it again, there's not one wasted bit of film in this movie. It is a lean, mean. I think it's 91 minutes long, and this movie immediately drops you in One thing I'd be remiss if I didn't mention, the initial intro has like newsreel footage and a narrator talking about what happened. You know, that there was a war in the Middle East and it ended up resulting in a nuclear conflict. Then you go over, you know, some of the events of the first Mad Max movie, and it's hilarious trying to watch you keep a straight face as you're reading the chat, Jason. It really is.
No, I was reliving kind of what's. I was like, oh, so the movie started in 2026.
Yes. Uh, this chilling opening setting up the events of the movie, and then after that we go immediately into a car chase. Like the car chase is underway, or Max and the Interceptor are being pursued across the wasteland by a couple of members of the Lord Humongous gang. And the Interceptor, you know, which looked pretty badass in Mad Max, has now become more wasteland modified, bigger fuel tanks, and a bunch of accoutrement. It's been modified on the inside. It's been, we find out, been booby trapped. Uh, this is the look of the Interceptor, like the most iconic look is this particular configuration. And from the moment he turns on his supercharger and charges down the road, it's just, it's amazing. I love how quick paced this movie is, how every scene is in service to something, to either setting up characters, setting up the world, or pure full blown action. Uh, and I'm going to say this right now. I think this is one of the greatest action movies of all time. I think is the best movie in the Mad Max series. And that's high praise because I think all five of the movies are pretty damn great. But to me, The Road Warrior is just, it's perfection. It is how you make an action movie. It is how you do a chase scene. It's how you make a reluctant hero. And it's how you make a perfect wasteland gang of antagonists.
No, I agree. Like I've always been to a point. Sometimes a contrarian. I'm always an alien over aliens. T1 over T2. I know. Night over dawn. Evil Dead 1 over Evil Dead 2. But man, the Road Warrior. It'd give me this one all day long and twice on Sunday. In fact, this was the last movie I rewatched. And as I'm sitting here rewatching it, it's not an idea that has ever come to mind, and I'm be curious to see how you react to this notion. But I'm watching this movie, and I'm just sitting here again. It's the pace, it's the music, the there's not um a a, a letter of unnecessary dialogue in this movie. And I'm watching this, I'm going, this is essentially Conan the Barbarian. Like this is that
Yes.
perfect action movie. There's no fat, whether it's in the score, in like the exposition that has to happen. Nothing is wasted in this movie. Everything is driving you forward from the moment the credits start.
We get an interesting array of characters. You know, and we just get hints of backstories with these people, but so many memorable characters, as Wes, Lord Humongous, uh, the leader of this outpost, who, you know, is kind of a salty guy just trying to help his people survive, the warrior woman, the feral kid, uh, and of course, Mad Max, and the gyrocopter pilot. The gyrocopter pilot gives this sort of a little bit of comic relief and levity in this movie. And he's such an absurd character and his rigged together helicopter wearing like a vintage pilot outfit and ballet slippers. The scene where he's trying, you know, he's watching Max eat Max and his dog, who I believe is just named Dog, eating the dog food. And he pulls out a spoon and the dog snaps at him as he's trying to get at the dog food. And his dialogue and everything, he's just such a, when I was a kid I just loved his character, and his character is so entertaining, uh and comes in, it's just like the right moment to help. And The interceptor is such an iconic part of the Road Warrior, but so is the gyrocopter. It is an essential part of this movie and the pilot, and he's the supporting character this movie really needed and got. Um, the gang itself is just ruthless. They are laying siege to this small oil refinery. It's like they've hit the mother lode with these people. And if they can just breach the walls and get in, they will have a massive supply of gas. And they go to great lengths to try to get in, down to capturing some of their people and subjecting them to some really horrific torture. And in scenes that don't show a lot, but imply enough to make it just kind of grim and disturbing. Uh, and these people on the inside of this compound are just trying to survive. They just want to take enough fuel to leave and go to the coast and start over again. They're trapped. They're under siege, and they can't leave without getting absolutely eviscerated by this gang. And what they need a truck. They need a truck to haul a tank full of fuel so they can lead their convoy out of there. Uh, and Max has the key to it. He knows where to get it. Um, and he's a mercenary. Max is doing this for enough fuel and supplies so he can go out there and keep wandering the wasteland alone with his dog. And but of course he warms up to these people, and he becomes more noble as the movie goes on. And I his dog's an Australian cattle dog, a blue heeler. I grew up with a blue heeler. My first dog I had in my adulthood, it was a blue heeler whose name was Mad Max because of this movie. Bore a pretty good resemblance to the dog of this movie too. And rewatched it with me, and she asked me a question about the dog, and I won't spoil anything, but yeah, the dog's in danger in this movie. I'll just say that. But there's real stakes in this movie. Nobody's protected. Even Max has some extremely close calls. People you think are going to make it don't. And it's such a raw, adrenaline fueled movie. And we get to see some humanity in it too with Max as, the feral kid who's this kid who has this awesome metal boomerang. Doesn't really speak, and it's just this wild feral kid, but Max remembers his son, and he has that kind of just warmth towards him as he remembers the man he used to be. Top to bottom, action, emotion, everything. Stellar movie, beginning to end. And I must say, I think one of the best final action sequences ever in an action movie. It is how you film a chase scene. The chase scene in this movies are spectacular, and that last one is amazing. And there's twists in this movie that is just fantastic.
Yeah, I think I don't really call it a complaint. Is that the none of the villains really kind of get a, and that, I mean, it works that way. There's no big climactic dismissal of them. They die on the road, and we'd be remiss if we didn't mention the practical and insanely dangerous car stunts that happen throughout this movie. I know that a lot of the film is sped up, but these guys are still in cars in this barely 2-lane blacktop. That very famous motorcycle crash that happens in that final battle. Uh, it's surprising that you don't see any documentaries about like how many people died during the making of the Mad Max franchise.
I believe it. Um, no CGI here. It's just raw wrecking cars, blowing shit up. People having to climb on moving vehicles. Just balls to the wall awesomeness. Um, this really formed the blueprint for how to set up a world, and this movie does such a great job of world building as well. This world feels tangible and real, and just desperate. That these people just try and, like, Max using like plates and stuff to try to catch a little bit of gas to keep his gas guzzling rig going. Um, and he like finds some ammo, but has no idea if it's any good or not. Very real things. It's just there's so much fantastic detail in this movie. Answer your question, Logan. Yes, the prevailing theory is that the feral kid is in fact the person called Max in Fury Road. I think it's a very compelling theory. Chronologically, that character's not the original Max. Um, to me, I accept that theory as the feral kid taking on the mantle of Max later on. Max, being this kind of mythical figure from the past. Uh, so I'm not sure it's been confirmed, but that's what I choose to believe is the feral kid later goes on to call himself Max and takes on this heroic role.
Yeah, I'm down with that. And I guess because it got brought up, I do now believe I have to retract my statement. The one thing missing from making this a perfect film is, in fact, alligators. Because I don't know if George Miller is watching, but I know maybe we can get one more Max movie in. So if you could just give me a scene where we're just, again, just insane vehicle action. Meanwhile, there's an alligator playing a flame-throwing guitar on the back of a vehicle, then that will be the greatest movie in this franchise, bar none.
I want to see if you. There's something I noticed. I had to back it up to watch. At one point, Vernon Wells' character is getting a haircut because you got to keep those mohawks tight in the wasteland. The dude giving him the haircut looks exactly like Walton Goggins. Go back and watch it and look at him because Brie wife was like, "Is that Walton Goggins?" I'm like, "No, Walton Goggins would have been like a small child at this point." But holy shit, is that dude a dead ringer? Just a funny little tidbit I noticed in there. Looking at the notes, the dog's shotgun contraption in the car, where it's like he has a sawed-off shotgun rigged up to a bone, and the dog's holding onto it, keeping the gyrocopter guy hostage. It's just fantastic. And you already mentioned it, but the score is just amazing in this movie.
Yeah, it's I love
Every
the
detail.
I love the gyro captain because when he first shows up, you're like, oh, he's he'll be he almost I'm afraid watching it that he's gonna be kind of like Mad Max's Benny to Brendan Fraser's The Mummy, but he's not. He is totally like a reluctant teammate. He has just enough skeeziness. When he's like, "Hey, the one pretty girl in this encampment, let's go, let's get out of here." But then he ends up becoming like the leader of the group and like helping them all escape. With one of the best twists of the movies. I won't spoil it here, but man, every time when you see it, you're just like it. It just rocks you knowing um, what ends up happening at the end. And again, Lord Humongous is great. Vernon Wells' character is such a fantastic secondary villain, and of course, that's the character they bring back for that weird cameo in Weird Science. Uh,
Oh
but
yeah.
I love Lord Humongous because he just talks. He's just this giant. Like if Jason Voorhees was just pumped to the gills with with like whey powder. Um, but like he's like his little outfit. He's in his little He-Man outfit. And so that scene where you're like, what does he have as weapons? And he opens that old wooden case with he has like the Joker's revolver with the best scope ever. For that giant, huge hand cannon he has, and then his weird trident spears. And we'll get to some of these movies later where car design too it's more than just like putting a bunch of cardboard on a vehicle in funny shapes. Like the actual physical designs of the vehicles in this movie, whether it's the car that he drives, the one little speed buggy that the leader of the gas people drives. They're doing the final. race and the gyrocopter itself. Like, just again, there's not one thing in this movie that isn't there solely to give you the best action movie ever.
Yes. I'd argue this belongs in the Mount Rushmore of action movies. I think it's that great. I think it has held up, 45 years later, amazingly well. It's still fresh and it's still a very influential movie. Oh, next up on the list, well, as we go from, in my opinion, one of the greatest action movies of all time to the ripoffs, quality is going to decline, but that doesn't mean they aren't going to be entertaining. As we get next into one of my picks, 1982's Battle Truck, also known as Warlords of the 21st Century. But I'm going with Battle Truck because I think that's a cooler name, and the main antagonist of the movie drives a big old armored turbine-powered semi, so I'm going to go with that. At Battle Truck, let me get to my notes. It talks about there hasn't been a nuclear war, but it says there's been conflicts in the Middle East. At one point, they say Saudi Arabia is burning, and the oil supply has come to a screeching halt. And given that we're so dependent on it, people flock to the cities, and the countryside becomes this lawless wasteland where people are battling over fuel and resources. Chief among which that is terrorizing the wasteland is Colonel Straker, who has a heavily customized armored battle truck uh, that he uses to attack outposts, to forcibly recruit people, and of course, find that sweet, sweet fuel. And we follow a woman who managed to get, Straker and his crew, sorry, find the location of a huge reserve of diesel. But a woman who's seemingly held prisoner by them escapes and is rescued by our hero. And it's like the guy came on the stream. It's like, holy shit, that's Michael Beck for the Warriors, playing a character named, of course, Hunter. In his cool, badass motorbike, he takes her to his sweet survivalist chateau, which is a pretty nice setup. And after that, we get to go to another outpost and kind of see how they live. And of course, the battle truck shows up and shit gets real. Antics ensue, battles happen, and Hunter has to come in to save the day and fight off Colonel Straker. So that's the gist. Another movie not super high on plot. What you think, Jason?
This one, it was interesting. I did overall enjoy it. I mean, the battle truck, it's like the war rig meets like an Arrow Wolf helicopter.
Yes.
You have the guy who he's the our Colonel Straker, who's like the most evil of random evil men. His daughter's harem. Not quite sure what the relationship is. Is she a kidnapped victim? Is that his daughter? And Michael Beck, who I think is great as Swan in the Warriors. For whatever reason, he does not, nor he nor his character wants to be in this movie.
Nope. He
uh,
is, I like Michael Beck, he is phoning it in. And you could definitely tell with the line delivery. The only person who delivers lines with about any conviction in this movie is Colonel Straker. Everyone else is just kind of, they're saying their lines.
although I will say I did not have John Rathensberger on my
Yes.
bingo card for this movie.
It's like, what? John Ratzenberger in a small role of this movie. playing one of the members of this little community. It's like, hey, the guy who's voiced in like every Disney Pixar movie ever and was in Cheers is randomly in Battle Truck. I guess he had to get a start somewhere. Um, the Battle Truck itself, really cool creation. It's turbine powered. It sounds turbine powered. They even throw that into the plot. You know, it's got gun holes on the inside. There's all these panels. It is a really cool creation. And I would say like the diesel pump, the cool like diesel control module they find is like looks like something out of the Jetsons. Otherwise, there's just not much visually to this movie in terms of like cool post-apocalyptic stuff. The Road Warrior has so much of it, and this is just like they put everything into the titular battle truck. Everything else looks really plain. However, I must say, this was filmed in New Zealand, and has a lot of beautifully shot scenes. It really does. The camera work of this movie is way better than it should be for a movie of this caliber. You get a lot of nice shots of, especially Hunter going across the wasteland on his motorcycle, and they're just following him along, and it's just stunning. So it's kind of like a travelogue video. It's just got some nice footage. It's just not enough to really elevate this movie. Uh, it was okay. It had some entertaining parts. But unlike some other movies in the list, it like wasn't terrible enough to be super fun, but not good enough to really be like a super memorable Road Warrior ripoff.
Yeah, I mean, you're watching this movie because they built this. I mean, all the money for this movie went into that truck. And so you're just here for the ride as just like, yeah, keep driving that truck through popsicle stick buildings. And then you're like, that's going to go off a cliff and it's going to explode magnificently. And so you're just kind of like waiting for that to happen. And when it does, mwah. But yeah, it's just a lot of just like, hey, look how cool this truck is. Watch us drive it through stuff.
Yes, and they do, and that's cool. I have a question for you. What country does this movie take place in?
New Beckett stands. New Beckett stands.
Yes, because the impression I got for the opening was that this is the United States, but about half the characters have an Australian accent and half of them are American. So, and it was filmed in New Zealand. So, I don't know. It is never made clear. Uh, I will say one scene I had to rewind because it was so awesome, where Hunter jumps into the battle truck and lands at the back. Gotta admit, that was really awesome. That was memorable. Also, did you see the director's name? Oh,
Yeah, I have it written down here. Harley Hopeless?
Harley
Oh, he was
Cockless.
Cockless. He was the second unit director on The Empire Strikes Back, and he directed the movie Dream Demon in
Okay.
1988.
Well, this ends up not being a terribly memorable or well-made movie. Again, aside from the camera work and a wacky and fun but all over the place soundtrack, which I enjoyed the soundtrack.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what they were going for, but I'm there for it. Uh, Battle Truck's just kind of in that spot where it's just like it's hard to recommend unless you're a completionist. It's okay in parts, but it never really, besides the Battle Truck, which tragically got blown up, and they really had to blow it up because that's what you do in these days. Doesn't really set itself apart in this genre.
I did have a note. I wrote it down because I was kind of looking into some stuff. Apparently, this movie got greenlit because of the backing by Roger Corman, because they gave him the synopsis and he said, I can see the poster already. And then as they got ready to film, he was like, ugh. And so they only got about half the budget they thought they were getting. And then they said they didn't hear from him again until the premiere, where he said, cut that line and cut that line. It won't work how you want. And then that was all the executive producing he did for the movie.
Oh, he is a busy man making an obscene amount of movies. So, um, yeah, this is just this one is fun for a bit of trivia. There's just not a whole lot to say about it, to be honest. Cool cover though. If you go look up the original VHS cover, It is not really accurate to the movie, but it is cool. And Michael Beck, you can act way better than this. The dialogue in this movie is tragically terrible. Speaking of terrible,
Well, speaking of VHS covers, we got Battle Truck got bamboozled and hoodwinked by Roger Corman. Our next film, the cover of that bamboozled and hoodwinked us. It is Land of Doom from 1986, which has a killer VHS cover. Man, this movie was rough. And there are moments in this movie that are so bad it's good. But so we have the very beginning, this young woman who is our hero and is like oh, I forgot the character and the actress's name. Um Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
oh yeah,
Willie. Willie.
I can't.
What was her
I
name?
think, yeah, she really can't act
Somebody will
in the
have it in
movie.
chat. Who plays Willie in Temple of Doom? Her level of likability. uh,
Yep,
and there, you're up.
Kate Capshaw.
Kate Capshaw. That's our hero, and she's dressed like Barry Bostwick from Megaforce, including the headband. And her village, or the village she's in, are being attacked by these guys on these motorcycles. And as much as I praise the vehicle design of the last two films, the vehicles in this movie look like they're getting ready for a homecoming parade because it's just a bunch of cardboard, like cut out to look like spikes, like awkwardly taped to the front and back of motorcycles to where they look hilarious and at best cumbersome to drive, if not
Hey,
flat out dangerous.
you could tell in this movie that the actors are having such a difficult time controlling these weighted down monstrosity, like cheap, because they know they just got some of the crappiest, dingiest motorcycles they could find. It just bolted crap to them, cardboard and metal, and it shows because like you see them shaking, trying to hold it. It's going like 10 miles an hour. I just there's got to be a reel of people just eating shit on these bikes, and it doesn't. It it's like 2020 Texas Gladiators did that to an extent. Only I think they did it pretty decently. This did it. These creations look horrific. They look like some shit you would make for a high school play, only worse. It is so bad. Sorry, I said it
No,
there,
no, no,
but
no. You're good. And yeah, and so she escapes and she finds this injured man who is like supposed to be her sidekick, but somehow he's the one who it's very like she's the good guy. She is the Max of this movie, and yet somehow is her own damsel in distress because he keeps having to like save her. And then
yes,
she screams at him. Uh, and he was a member. He founded this group of mercenaries, evil biker gang, but he wanted them to be a new good guys, but they were like, that sucks, nerd. And so they kick him out. And now the leader of this game is like a lord humongous fan of Mankind because he's wearing this incredible like pig nose Mankind the wrestler mask. And he has this goofy robotic, not robotic, but it's supposed to be robotic arm. It was
yes,
giving off Cyborg Hunter Bixby robotic arm.
yeah, about at that level.
He looks like if you took Malibu from the American Gladiators and got him off the juice, and he's the villain of the movie, and he won't stop talking like this. He's very whiny. I'm gonna show you. I'm the best. And I won't say he's like the most likable character in this movie, but he's my favorite character because he is in his own little world, and our two main characters are highly unlikable. Um,
I must say, nobody in this movie seems to be able to agree what movie they're in, because everybody is giving such a bizarre, different performances from each other. I just like the dude who plays the male sidekick to Harmony, who's the woman. Just like, I don't know what kind of weird soap opera he thinks he's wandered into, but it's just I don't know what direction the director gave, but it's just like go out there, do whatever the hell you want. This is like the performances of this movie are just nonsensical. It's like all this movie is just nonsensical.
Yeah, when the cult guy, like the fat cult guy from American or Cyborg Terminator, is like acting laps around you, we're in trouble. Let me see. I'm trying to look at what because I wrote down notes. They're just insane. This was an American film made in Turkey. This is an American Mad Max knockoff, which shows you that when it comes to Mad Max knockoffs, until like the mid '90s, we as a country sucked at them. When you think of a great Mad Max knockoff, you're thinking, we're all thinking Italian. Uh, this one is terrible. Um, it, there is a scene. I think my favorite scene is when they're being attacked, and there is like a guy's chasing him on a motorcycle, and he tries to ride the motorcycle up a hill and falls off of it.
Yes.
And so he gets punched in the face and gets told to help. Tell the other guy to help him, but he's like, "You stink." And that guy who's awfully like surly, he kind of is giving this attitude like the one character from the Airplane movie, the one in the tower. You know who I'm talking about if you think about Airplane long enough.
Yes. Yes, I do.
For no reason whatsoever, he's just doing that in this movie. And then there's a giant, clearly not uh American man, just covered in body hair, who gets kicked in the balls and thrown off a mountain, and you literally watch him bounce when he hits the ground.
Right. And okay, Harmony kicks several guys in the balls in this movie. That's like her go-to move. I'm gonna wear a headband and kick dudes in the nuts and be angry about everything. She is the surliest character I have ever seen in one of this kind of movies. She is perpetually angry.
She carries a crossbow and does not fire it one time. It's just kicking guys in the balls. And yeah, she hates. I get it. A woman in the apocalypse, I'd hate all men too. But to the point to where she's like, "Don't touch me." To the point where like they've bonded, they're together, and they're sleeping, and he rolls over toward her, and he's at this point has saved her life numerous times. She looks at him close to her, and then pulls her knife like she's gonna stab him in his sleep until he rolls over.
He can't. He just cannot win with her. Uh, it's just we have just random characters. So we run into a pair of cannibals. One is a redneck, and one is French for some reason. I don't know why. My wife told me, who watched all these movies with me, said this movie should have been called The Land of Many Accents because there are so many different accents. Another one of those, where's it supposed to take place at?
Yeah.
I have no idea because the accents are just all over the place. Different countries, different areas of the US, who knows?
And then we get to clearly the best character in the movie, which is the puppy guy.
Yes, absolutely. He
He's
has a
just,
mandolin and an adorable puppy.
and he's the only one who does anything heroic in the whole goddamn movie.
Everyone else, it's like Harmony and her sidekick. I cannot remember that dude's name for the life of me. They're just like they just blunder into one dumb situation after another because they are terrible at it. But this dude comes in with his mandolin and his puppy and just freaking rules. He's a likable character, and he just comes in and saves the day. Uh,
He shows up with the
shows
world's
up,
biggest flamethrower.
yeah, shows up with a flamethrower out of nowhere, and you're like, this dude is why wasn't this movie about him? If they would have made a sequel or a spinoff, uh, which it seems like they kind of wanted to do at the end, and like they're set up like, oh man, Land of Doom 2. Spoiler alert, it never happened. But 40 years later, I don't care. If you can get that guy to come back with a flamethrower, mandolin, and a dog, I will watch that movie. I don't care. You can make it in my backyard. But
And
it's just
oh,
so
we
many
have
random
to.
characters.
Not only the characters are random, not only are the vehicles trash. Honestly, I've gone back and forth what the best part of this movie is, and I think you will agree with me that the best part of this movie, through all the fight scenes, is this 1980s sitcom saxophone music that's playing.
Yes.
It's like the
Oh,
opening to Full House.
it does not fit this movie at all. This movie is such a hodgepodge of things that just do not mesh whatsoever. It's like you have this goofy music going on while this chase scene's going on. This chase scene in which they're going at like walking speed and trying not to fall off these terrible ungainly motorcycles. It is amazing. Uh, it's and I mentioned, the gang of Lord Humongous was kind of terrifying. Well, this gang, they are also this BDSM sort of biker gang, only they're the least threatening wasteland gang you could possibly imagine. They are terrible. They are not intimidating. They giggle a lot for reasons. There's one scene in which like four of them are standing up on a hill and they're just like, I took a screenshot of it because it's like that just the visual's hilarious because they just could not be less threatening standing up there on the hill. Looked like they were posing. Uh, no wonder Harmony just kicked them all in the dick and defeated them. It's just they're like they watched the role where like we could do that. They got kind of the most budget BDSM gear and like, yep, that's our gang. And a bunch of hairy shirtless dudes from all over the world.
And, and again, if you look at the poster of this movie, it's hand drawn. It looks badass. The dude in the mankind mask. It looks like Lou Ferrigno. And when you get into the movie, he looks like the little blonde guy who's Wes's like life partner in The Road
Yes,
Warrior.
he is a flamboyant twink of a man who is not in the movie nearly as much as he should be, considering he's plastered on the cover. He really, Slater's his name, does not get much screen time, which sucks because I think he's a great villain, or at least a very entertaining villain. Not threatening in the least, same with the rest of his gang, but the mask and the outfit are just golden. And it's just like, I love his over the top performance, which, while not threatening, is very entertaining. Uh, oh, I will say though, filmed in Turkey, there is at the beginning of the movie this village that's like built into these mountains. That is such a cool piece of scenery.
Yeah.
I don't know why that isn't used in more movies. Uh, I'm surprised you haven't mentioned this yet. Why are there Jawas in this movie?
They're on the cover of the picture I made it because that scene where the dog guy, not only does the guy have a puppy, but he has his own little pack of Jawas.
And I mean, when I say they're Jawas, they look and act and sound just and are like the size of Jawas. I mean, why they didn't get hit by cease and desist? Because I mean, clearly that's what they were going for.
They walked off the set of Turkish Star Wars. That's exactly what happened.
Yes, and they speak in their own little weird language, and they're just kind of there, like, wait, what? There's so much shit they threw in this movie that just the soundtrack, the characters, the outfits, the accents, Jawas, dogs, mandolins, the worst post-apocalyptic vehicles you have ever seen. It is such a random hodgepodge of bullshit. But I was entertained. There's a
Yep.
few times where it kind of slows down too much, where some scenes drag on too long by a little bit. I could forgive that because I was very entertained throughout
Yeah.
this movie.
Yeah.
Battle Truck wasn't bad enough to be good. Land of Doom is plenty bad enough to be great.
Yeah.
It is a fun B movie. Go in with rock bottom expectations. I am sure this is the kind of game you can make kind of movie you could make a hell of a drinking game out of. I had a great time with Land of Doom.
Yeah. The only drawback is it's on Tubi, and so when those slow parts hit and the movie screeches to a halt, then you get commercials on top of it. So you have
Oh man.
plenty of time to bake a cake, make a meatloaf. There's plenty of time for that in the middle of this movie.
If they would have trimmed about 10 minutes out of this movie, it would be a 10 or 15 minutes certified bad movie classic. As is, I was entertained. It did not, the cover promised a lot it couldn't deliver on, but I don't care. I had a great time with Land of Doom.
Oh yeah.
No regrets. Yep. I had everything on my notes, just making sure. I took a lot of notes for Land of Doom.
Yeah, that's the most notes I took for all 5 movies. Was in Land of Doom.
Watch it and you will understand why.
Yeah.
I think next up we go up in quality quite a bit. Uh the next movie, we used to have this broadcast station in Spokane that broadcasted, you could pick it up with bunny ears and whatnot, and they would show all manner of cult films. I was exposed to so many cool movies on that channel, and one of them was 1991's Neon City. Uh, it's Michael Ironside, Vanity, football player Lyle Elzaldo, Juliet Landau, and others. Uh, One of the lesser known Road Warrior ripoffs, especially considering that this one had some talent and budget put into it. Um, this one I feel out of any of the Road Warrior ripoffs I've watched really does something. It, it does something different with the scenario and the setup. So, uh, in the future, uh, there's a scientist who's playing around with a laser and ends up inadvertently tearing a hole in the atmosphere. That combined with all the massive effects that has on the ecosystem and humanity, along with pollution and some of the other things of humanity dragging down the planet, kind of create a desperate situation. Uh, so we don't get the usual nuclear war wrecked everything. We're out of fuel. No. Instead, what we get with this is basically a post apocalyptic stagecoach movie. So the stagecoach western was a popular subgenre of westerns going back to the 30s, in which you follow a diverse group of characters going across the land in a stagecoach. Usually, there might be some mystery going on within, and they're under threat by external forces. And that is very much what this movie is. We have Michael Ironside, who's a bounty hunter, who ends up having to transport a prisoner played by Vanity, hey, from The Last Dragon, among other things, from one outpost to the titular Neon City. You know it's Neon City because wow, do they say that Neon City ate a lot in this movie? Uh, and they hop on this transport to go across the wasteland, piloted by Lyle Alzado and a bunch of other passengers along for the ride. Michael Ironside is kind of forced into doing this, and you have this interesting and diverse group of characters who are making their way and try to get to Neon City for various reasons. And along the way, there are threats from gangs, environmental threats, uh, relationships develop. There are secrets amongst the passengers of this transport, and a lot happens on this journey between the outpost and Neon City. So, what did you think, Jason?
So, full disclosure, buried in the recesses of our Facebook page is the first year I ever did 90s schlock January. And that first year doing it, I covered Neon City. Um, I have to say, even now, of all the quote unquote knockoff films we've covered, this one is my favorite. Number one, you get the unicorn of a Michael Ironside as a good guy role. With a sweet, sweet skullet ponytail. Um, him and the Lyle Alzando, who I remember from he had like a TV show, who I also confused constantly with the guy who did Body by Jake.
Yes.
You know how you young kids
I
remember
he
Body
They
by
look
Jake.
so much alike.
And yeah, Juliet Landau, Drusilla herself from Buffy. Again, it's just like you said, it's just a western, but with the really cool premise of everybody, everybody doing the whole gas shortage, doing this whole environmental thing. They have where almost like solar storms they call the brights that happen where you like cannot be out in the daylight. The way they film it, where it just is when they're the sun is it's almost black and white how bright everything is. Um, oh, the bots are here. Cool. Um, no, I like again. I this is my favorite one. You have the old like the old man and the weird Jack Kevorkian doctor who isn't a totally not going to end up being a villain. Um, and then I think Vanity is really good in this. I mean, she's good in The Last Dragon, but it's a completely different character. I think she actually
Yeah.
is really good in this movie. And I love Michael Ironside. I will watch anything with him in it, and he's a great villain. I think he is so underrated as a lead. I mean, he doesn't scream leading. Michael Ironside isn't scream leading man, but I think when he gets to do it every blue moon, he kind of rocks at it.
Well, he was a hero, kind of a similar like hero with rough edges, and V, the final battle back in the
Yeah,
80s as a resistance fighter and CIA operative named Ham. Did
yeah.
great in that role. And the right role, he can excel in it. This is the right kind of hero role for him. He displays a surprising amount of heart and emotion and empathy in this movie too, which you really don't associate Michael Ironside with. One of the subplots of this movie is that uh, people are some people are mutants or are born mutants, and that is something they heavily control. The government in the land heavily controls, and you find out he used to be a law enforcement official, and his son was a mutant, and they ended up taking his son, the government, and killing him. After that, he's like, "Nope, I'm done with this. I can't do this anymore." Strikes off on his own to be a bounty hunter, and he has a more soft approach to the people who are mutants, which you get to see a part of the movie too. They stop at this little outpost, and he meets this mutant family, and he's just like, "I'm not going to turn him in or anything," and he sees the kid and gives him a hug, and it's these very sweet moments. He's, this movie is shockingly well written. The dialogue, the plot, everything. There's twists, there's turns. Uh, I'm amazed with this many character and the pretty normal runtime. The characters actually feel fleshed out. They feel like real people. You get enough of a backstory for each one of them to feel like you get to know them, so you can sympathize with them or hate them. Uh, they're complex, three-dimensional characters. They've not done everything good or everything bad. This is how you write good characters. All in a early 90s Mad Max ripoff. I think this movie's I just watch this is the third time I've watched it. It is such a well done movie. And taking the idea of a post-apocalyptic western stagecoach movie and applying it to this world works perfectly. I'm not aware of another movie that quite did this formula either, which is a shame because I think it's a natural fit for each other. I think it really works due to all getting to show all the threats and hardships they face along the way. Um, and I really like it doesn't just it's not just a post nuke movie. The idea of there's these holes in the atmosphere, and they say these what they call the brights, it's like the pollutants and stuff. It like acts like a giant magnifying glass, and if you're caught in it, it will burn you alive. Due to that, we get to have a moment which every time I watched it, it breaks my heart. It's actually one of the more emotional moments I've seen in a movie like this, in which they run into this family, this husband and wife and their infant who got caught in one of these brights, and they're horribly burned and disfigured. And he just he says three words to Michael Ironside, and Michael Ironside's like, "I understand. We'll help you out." One of the characters on this caravan, he's a comedian, but his main trade now he supports himself is selling something called bye-bye bags, which is basically it's poison, so it's assisted suicide. Uh, and it's something that's heavily frowned upon. And he finds himself having to defend. He's like, I'm providing a necessary service. This is a nightmare world. It really is. Things are horrible out there. And like the case of this family, it's just like they are out there dying in these horrible burns and these horrible circumstances, and they're looking for a peaceful way out. And it's one of those, it's a morally hard hitting question. And this movie has the balls to tackle it and not be judgmental about it either. And it's like, especially, man, for 35 years ago, I it's like, man, it's thought provoking. This movie even manages to like make you genuinely sad and really raise legitimate societal questions. This movie managed to do so much in its runtime with its low budget. I am so impressed by Neon City. Characters, choreography of the scenes, um, is and everything too has this air of reality about it. From the outfits to the truck to the situation, everything seems oddly plausible. It is has to be one of the best of this genre of Road Warrior rip-offs, and I was always I'm glad to revisit it. My wife loved it. She was blown away by it because I told her before we started these, watch these five movies. It's like there's going to be some good ones, there's going to be some bad ones, and I think there's going to be one you really like. And it was she loved the Road Warrior, but she really liked this one a lot. I think it's one that a lot of people can appreciate. And whether you like westerns or post Duke movies or just well made, well written movies with some great characters, Neon City is a banger.
Yeah, and it's sadly underseen and kind of underrepresented. I know when I watched it for that review, I watched it on Tubi. And I think just last year, or maybe the year before, it finally got like a Kino Lorber actually gave it a release, so you can actually find it, physically. Yeah, it was a diamond in the rough then, and now it's just one of those movies where it just everything it does elevates this genre while also and again it is a Road Warrior knockoff, but yet somehow is um elevating every it's elevating in every aspect of it.
Although I will say, for as much as for being called Neon City, for as much as it says Neon City, you don't spend very much time in Neon City.
Yeah.
It doesn't really, you don't really get there till the very end. Although it's pretty satisfying what happens in Neon City. And hey, there's a lot of neon in it. Honestly, it doesn't need to. This movie needed to be in the wasteland. The that first outpost they stop. The beginning of the movie, they stop by that post-apocalyptic like restaurant where she's cooking God knows what. It's like that part's great. But they get to that,
The weird underground
outpost,
pool thing.
the first big outpost, and it's just like it feels real. It feels like it's like shockingly grounded. Uh, there's some twists in it too. There's a relationship between a few of the people on board. You're like, oh, it adds something to the plot as you find out the connection these two people have. But kind of like at the Road Warrior, there is a big twist in this movie that isn't revealed till towards the end of the movie, and I think it's a fantastic twist.
Yeah.
It's great, and they didn't. This movie's not packed with bullshit. Everything is in service to either world building or moving the plot along or character development. If you're gonna watch any movie on this list besides Road Warrior, watch Neon City. It is so much better than you would expect. Or a 1991 Road Warrior ripoff named Neon City. It's great.
Yeah.
If I ever meet Michael Ironside, this is the movie I'm going to talk to him about.
Yeah. Or that, or the one. Oh, I can't remember what it's called now, but no, I agree. And then our last film, and probably the most different, while also being very much the same, and that'll make sense as we get into it. From 1998, Six String Samurai. Now, this is a movie that even while watching it, the main character, I just want to get this out of the way, is a guy named Jeffrey Falcon, is the actor, which killer name, who plays our main character. To this, like, rewatching the movie, I keep finding myself going, not Guy Pearce.
Yes. Holy shit, does he look like Guy Pearce?
This is a movie that came to our attention at a very specific time of our youth. There's a list of movies here that all kind of like came into our world at the same time. This being one of them, and this was a movie that was just like Shaw found it. He had it on DVD, and I think him and I watched it exactly one time.
So, I have a little bit of backstory. I don't know
Yeah.
if you remember this. I was staying the night at Shaw's house. Uh, and of course, we were flipping through the channels late at night, and we watched the last like half of this movie. And then we set about finding out which movie this is, and Shaw managed to track down a copy.
Yeah.
So it's like we ran across on like HBO or something one night, and he loved it and ended up tracking it down. So
Yeah, this I mean, and again, I had not seen it. I know one of the things that got me into Vinegar Syndrome, that particular label, was they did like a super fancy 4K of it. I was like, oh, I know that movie, Six String Samurai. I'm buying that. And so I hadn't watched it except for that time with Shaw, except for today. And again, I think this was the hardest one. I think you'd have had to find it like what in like Internet Archives to find it.
Internet Archive has it. Had a DVD rip of it. Pretty low quality, but
Yeah.
watchable.
But this is a movie that honestly should be bigger everywhere. It should have a much bigger cult following. But when I think about this movie, I think about that particular time for us in our youths, with like, this was that same time as stumbling across things like Ricky O, Jesus Christ Vampire Hunter. I don't know, Ben, if you're still here or not, but as a proud Canadian, thank you, sir, for Jesus Christ Vampire Hunter.
Hell
Um,
yeah.
Trauma's War was kind of one of those movies. And this movie deserves that kind of a cult following. Because it is literally Rockabilly, Lone Wolf and Cub. That's what the movie is. It's a Mad Max knockoff, Lone Wolf and Cub, set in like the world of Rockabilly and like an early Robert Rodriguez film. Because this feels like somebody saw El Mariachi and was like, I love that, and I love the stand-up bass. How can I make those two things together into a movie? Because we have in the, I think they started like the 1950s. The Soviet Union nuked America and took over. And then there's the mystical city. It's a mixture of the Wizard of Oz and Las Vegas, called Lost Vegas. And there Elvis is king, but the king is dead. And now guitar fighters from all over the wasteland are making the trek to Las Vegas to become the new king of rock and roll. Our main character, his name is Buddy. And while not quite as good a job as Gary Busey, is a pretty decent Buddy Holly stand-in. And our main antagonist is a mixture of Slash from Guns N' Roses and a little bit of Rob Zombie thrown in as Death, the leader of heavy metal. And along the way, our reluctant hero Buddy stumbles across a child as they make their way to claim the throne of rock and roll. And there's just fun bluesy rock music. All the music is done by this weird German band called the Red Elvises, who do appear in the film. And it's just katana fights and like rockabilly music, and it's kind of a blast.
I forgot this thing. I'd see this movie in a long time. Two things watching this movie. One, I think the kid is really annoying. Two, there is a lot of surf rock in this movie. I do not like surf rock at all. Yeah, I listen. This movie is creative. A lot of cool stuff going on visually, and a lot of fun scenes, a lot of cool battles. Oh, I'm not sure this is one I should have rewatched because I did not like it nearly as much this time around. Maybe I'm getting to be an old fuddy duddy. I don't know. I could admire the creativity in it. Uh, I don't. It's so much different than I remember, and I don't know why. It's not bad. In fact, a lot of ways it does a lot of things pretty great, but just certain things about it, and it's just like I guess it's because my hatred for surf rock and annoying children characters really kind of took some of the fun out of this movie for me.
Well, back then, we had a resurgence. The Brian Seltzer Orchestra, the Cherry Poppin' Daddies were big. Swing was back in it.
Yes.
Every Gap commercial ever. No, I get it. And what's funny is rewatching it now again was like I'm not a huge rockabilly fan. I number one, I don't have the confidence to wear either giant mutton chop sideburns or a pompadour. Um, I certainly don't have it to wear like cheetah print shoes. But uh, no, again, I said that before, watching this movie was just kind of like it definitely had that feeling of there's a whole subgenre. We could do a whole nother round of knockoffs. The post Pulp Fiction Tarantino knockoff movie.
Yes.
This though, I was watching this going, this is somebody really loved early 1990s Robert Rodriguez, because that is exactly what
Yes.
this movie is.
It definitely has a feel, especially in the camera work, I'd say. Um I forgot, it's just like this is such a random movie. And it just you kind of seem to go from one bizarre random situation that's not very well explained to another. So
Yeah.
it's just like oh, okay, what's going on? Why are there guys in astronaut outfits? Okay. And that's why it's like I look like Clint Eastwood. We're saying why a lot during this movie. And it's a lot of funny sight gags, it is, but maybe I'm actually too much. Movie just like it's just kind of things happen, then another things happen, then another things happen. And
Well, the
there's a whole
space
lot of,
the,
hey, remember this? Yeah, yeah.
the spaceman one felt personal because at first they're at the windmill, like they call them the windmill people, but then the spaceman show up, and I was like, is that where Weatherford got the idea that on the 100th anniversary of Route 66 we're gonna rebrand the entire town as Space City?
Nice try, Weatherford.
um, but yeah, again, it's so it almost comes off as parody,
Yes.
but takes itself seriously, but not too I mean, because this could have taken itself incredibly too seriously. And I feel like would have been insufferable. For whatever reason, it just again was watching it was like, I'm not into this music. Um, I good on you. I do love though my favorite part is two parts is the idea of it's the only one of these movies that realistically shows what would happen if you took a whole bunch of rusted out cars that had barely any kind of fuel in them. What those kind of car chases would look like, because they're not going to look like the Road Warrior. They're going to be
Nope.
puttering along at 15 miles an hour.
Right, yeah. Well, they're actively falling to pieces.
And then the quote unquote nuclear family of cannibals they look like EC comic characters and they won't stop
They
making
do.
food puns.
Nonstop. I will say, the badass named Jeffrey Falcon, legit martial artist, apparently. And he had the look and the moves. He should have been a lot bigger.
Yeah.
And I think he does a pretty good job as like kind of the stoic hero in this movie. Turns out he did some stuff before then, but in 2003 he just quit film, moved to China, got married, and went on to live a quiet life. Um, this dude should have been like an indie action hero darling.
Yeah.
It's a shame he didn't do more of the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. I genuinely think he could at least been a decent star. But I think he's by far the best part of this movie. His sword work is pretty great, and he looks the part.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of just like he's moving through this wasteland, just like very stoically and seriously trying to make his way to Las Vegas, and he's great. He really is. Uh, a lot of the movie doesn't hold up for me, but he very much holds up.
It does kind of have that feeling of we have the Wolfman Jack radio guy. It almost has a feeling of even though I like this other movie far better because it's our movie. Um, Rising Storm, whatever it's whichever one, because it does feel of just like what exactly is the tone we're going for. But it also feels like a movie, and maybe that's another thing that kind of like gave me a little bit of rose-colored glasses is watching this. Is yeah, it's goofy and it's weird, and it reminds me of the same kind of like person who would come up with this idea. Is the same group of dudes who would be like, let's make a movie about the last man on Earth because America has been decimated by Mexico, and now the last man on Earth is being hunted down by his the greatest faces in Hispanic pop culture and Lou Diamond Phillips.
You're not wrong. This does seem like the kind of random thrown together thing we would make, which
Yep.
is like so much random wackiness. You're not wrong.
But
There is a
thank
lot of
God
fun to
we
be
never
had
had
at
a
this movie.
katana.
No, there's a lot of fun to be had at this movie, and I'm surprised it isn't a bigger cult classic, given the music, given the effort, and given the fact that it is in fact a very unique movie. It's just this has happened to me a few times where I go back and revisit movies from our youth. That it's just The memory is reality doesn't live up to the memory. However, it was an interesting movie to throw in with this lineup because there's nothing quite like it. This is one of the most unique Road Warrior ripoffs.
Yeah. Again, it's rockabilly, Lone Wolf and Cub meets the Road Warrior, and it's definitely something to behold. And I think again the worst part is how under seen it is. Part of that could be again because of how unavailable it was. Like I said, there's Vinegar Syndrome cleaned it up, but otherwise you're looking at Amazon, you're like, I want to check that out. Well, it's not streaming anywhere, and like on Amazon, like a bare bones DVD is like $45.
That's
So
and unless that changes, unless somebody can stream it, it'll probably stay,
yeah.
fairly unknown, which is a shame. I think a lot of people would really enjoy this movie. It's one of those movies, even though I didn't enjoy it as much the second time around, I have an appreciation for what it was doing and the talent involved, and I think a lot of people would really love it.
It was definitely something that again I hadn't seen since that one time, in high school. So it was interesting going back. And like you said, sometimes they don't always hold up. It's a pretty intimate crowd right now. I'll give you one example, and it's another movie that Shaw brought to the table. Uh, Donnie Darko. So take that hot take as you will. Um, but I think that's gonna do it for Mad Max knockoffs, at least until uh next year when it's time to get your Master Blaster because we're going beyond Thunderdome, baby. This is the one I feel like I've seen the least.
And it's funny because
And
this is the one I've seen the most
yep.
because it was PG-13 and we owned the VHS tape of it.
The only last time, one and only time I remember watching it, because usually I sometimes will just skip over this one, was watching it, your VHS copy of it.
Yes.
Um, but you're gonna get Tina Turner, so it's all good. Um, look here, I hate to derail right now. I put up with your 49er garbage opinion, and so I will let that go. You want something else? You really want my trifecta here, Logan? You know what my favorite NBA team is? That's right, the Sacramento Kings. You know why? Because apparently I hate basketball. So take that. You take your Super Bowl trophy and you just leave my Red Sox alone. Anyway, or you'll be in your own little Mad Max world. I could be mean. I live in a state that you hold very much egregious to taking your basketball team, so I could be mean right now, but I won't. Oh yeah, that stings.
People in Washington are so salty about the Seattle Supersonics moving to Oklahoma City and becoming the Thunder. I'm like, listen, Oklahoma took a team which was a joke and absolutely made it something. I'm so happy Oklahoma has a pro sports team, even though I couldn't possibly care less about basketball and most other sports for that matter. It's been great to see how appreciative people in Oklahoma have been and how proud they are to finally have a pro sports team. But man, 2012, I lived in Seattle for several months, and people are just like, I'm like, oh, where are you from? Oklahoma. Like, oh, they took our basketball team. Like,
You're like,
oh,
I
I'm sorry,
get it.
they
I
took
was in the
the
desert.
Seattle Supersonics.
I well, I'll tell you, if you really don't like basketball, you should join me and be a Kings fan because there's nothing to cheer for. No, when we were talking about going on that cruise, we were going to have to leave out of Seattle, and Ashton was like, "I'm going to bring all this Thunder stuff." I was like, "Can you please not? I'd like to get on that boat alive. Let's not do that." Speaking of getting out alive, that'll wrap up this year's Mad Max films. That'll also wrap up for the most part, our April Live Hangout. But since you've all been so nice, except for you, don't talk about my Red Sox. Um, we've got plenty more uh, loaded in the chambers starting tomorrow, 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. The new review goes up, and this one's interesting because I don't know. Did we do that? I think we did that live on Facebook. I think we have carried it over. I'm not sure, but Nick and I did the Crow franchise a year or so ago, 2 years ago, where we covered all of the Crow movies, including the last Crow movie, the Skarsgård Crow. And of course, Nick's absolute favorite, Crow Wicked Prayer.
Yes.
And so we were like, they're done, right? Well, they kind of are, but tomorrow I will be talking about Days of Sodom, which is like this big budget Crow fan film that's hitting YouTube.
Cool.
Premiered in theaters, has like a full blown like cast of somebodies, and it's supposed to be kind of like this fan film, not quite on the level of Iron Lung type release, but it is because they don't have the option to like do it. Of course you did. Like the new Crow movie. Get out of here.
Oh, okay. I don't understand. Movies are very much about, it's about taste. It's all subjective. Except for that new Crow movie, I was astounded at how shitty that movie was. That movie, I think, is objectively terrible. Other than the cool part where he's like, there's a fight scene that's cool. Other than that, every part of that movie is an absolute raging dumpster fire. That is nonsensical.
You could have had that Skarsgård boy fall in love with an alligator, and I still wouldn't watch it, Logan. That's how terrible that movie was. But that's what we'll be talking about tomorrow. Of course, Nick says we're going to have a new post theater clarity in the midweek. And then next month, I will tell you right now, I've been trying to say it in our videos. Yes, Mortal Kombat 2 is coming. No, we will not be talking about it until the end of the month because the topic of our May live hangout is the live action Mortal Kombat franchise. We're covering all 3 movies plus joint reviewing Mortal Kombat 2 plus we'll be talking about Mortal Kombat Legacy because it has Michael Jai White and you do what's best for Black Dynamite when called upon. So, we'll be covering those at the end of next month. So stay tuned for that. I'm super excited to revisit the Mortal Kombat franchise. It is not a franchise I have watched in a long time, and I think you understand when I say that the one that I shouldn't be the most excited to rewatch is the one I'm kind of the most excited to rewatch.
Ooh, yeah. I I'm looking forward to it, but Annihilation is we'll see. I think it'll be an entertaining review, and it should be an entertaining watch. But you want to talk about one of the biggest drops of quality from a movie to the sequel? There you go.
And yeah, I too look. I'm super excited for this Mortal Kombat 2. It looks like it's doing everything. That's so funny now that we're getting that and Street Fighter, and both movies
Yes.
look like they captured their 2 different games absolutely, pardon the pun, flawlessly. But that is going to do it again. So join us tomorrow for Days of Sodom, a Crow fan film. I don't want you to think I'm watching Sallow. Whew, that'd be a wild Sunday release. We'll save that for an Easter. But we'll be talking about that. And then, of course, at the end of May, we'll be talking about Mortal Kombat and all the live action films within. And until then, Nick, do you have anything else? before we get out of here?
Thank you for joining us. As usual, appreciate your support, Logan, and to everyone else. I will see you all next time.
You guys have a good night, and we will see you next week or next month or tomorrow, whenever. Join the page. Let's
See you
go to
sometime.
69,
Later.
boys. Bye.